Good evening, Danvers, and welcome to our December 2023 HRC meeting. I'm D. Joko, chair of the committee. We'll start by the reading of the Native Land Acknowledgement. Bill.
In keeping with our values of equity and inclusion, and to support those who experience marginalization, this evening's meeting will begin with the Native American land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the ancestral homelands of the Namkig and Agawam people. Historical evidence shows that the Namkig and Agawam were peaceful in their relationships with European settlers. However, their population depleted rapidly due to smallpox and other pandemic Old World diseases unknowingly introduced by earlier European colonizers to the East Coast. To honor the Namkig and Agawam communities, along with the other indigenous peoples who inhabited these lands, now known as Danvers, Massachusetts, and who may be lost to history, let us take a moment to recognize the past, present, and future of indigenous peoples and reflect on our roles within settler colonizations. We acknowledge these ancestral grounds we have collectively gathered upon and support the resilience and strength that indigenous peoples have shown worldwide.
Thank you very much. I'll now move on to the next item of the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes. We do have two sets of minutes to approve. I will do them individually just in case everybody wasn't at one of the meetings. I would need a motion to approve the minutes of November 16, 2029, and that was one of our regular meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. I'll now move on to approve the next minutes, which will be the special meeting we had virtually on November 29, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Any discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Citizen queries. If there's anyone who has any questions, comments, concerns in the audience. Here none. I'll now move on to the next item of the agenda, which is the liaison update. Eric, can start by the school.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know that this committee has requested information previously on the equity subcommittee of the school committee, so I wanted to try and provide some information and happy to answer some questions to the extent possible. So I wanted to set some context first in that the school committee's role generally, and it's set by the legislature, because that's really what the school committee is. It's required that each town have a school committee by the legislature. It's not part necessarily of the, say, the town bylaws, town charter. That may determine how many members we have and how they're elected. But we are really a creature of statute. And since 1993, there have been basically three broad duties that have been left to school committees. To set policy, to develop and support a budget, present it for approval, and to hire a superintendent. That is in contrast to what happened before Ed Reform in 1993, when school committees hired teachers, hired coaches, passed a budget that pretty much the town had to live with, had input into all sorts of decisions in terms of curriculum. And if you were to go back and look at some old minutes or old reports of school committees, you'll see they're hiring driver's ed instructors. I mean, it was, you know, very much a political body. And I think in 1993 with ed reform, the legislature wanted to make school committees less political and therefore limited the specific roles. So what we don't do is execute on policy, develop or approve curriculum, become involved in individual parent or student disciplinary issues or IEPs on a special education standpoint, become involved in employment issues unless it's something that actually via the teacher's contract results in a grievance that goes before us. But other than that, our duties are somewhat limited. So when we set policy, one of the things we can do is set a subcommittee as basically sort of an oversight, get information, ask questions, find out what might be happening in terms of future plans for the superintendency. But what we don't do, and what no subcommittee is really supposed to do, is to say, look, you're going to do it this way. You're going to use this curriculum. We want you to do it. So in May of 2021, we created two subcommittees. One was the equity subcommittee. One was the curriculum subcommittee. And basically, the equity subcommittee was created to demonstrate, I think, to the community and to the district, the importance that the school committee placed on the policy of making sure that we were and remained an equity-seeking district and did those things that were foundational to try and get us there. The subcommittee ultimately combined with the curriculum committee because they both had the same members on it, and they found a great overlap in terms of what was being discussed in the committee meetings in terms of curriculum and equity, because it all sort of tied together in terms of what we were trying to do. So they meet monthly. They meet with the superintendent and the assistant superintendent, Mary Wormers. This has been the way the committee's operated since it was established, first with Lisa Dana, then with Mary Wormers when she was acting superintendent, and now with Superintendent Bauer. They discuss programs that the district plans to implement. And so, for example, they would have discussed things about the story circles at the elementary level. They would have had discussions about the community block at the high school. They would discuss, for example, we have an upcoming climate and culture survey, which will be school-wide, and that's in development right now. I'm sure there'll be discussions in the committee, at the committee level about that. But again, the committee can't say to the superintendent, nor should they, hey, you know, do it this way. They could say, here's what we think, here's what we'd like to see you consider. The other thing the subcommittee could do is if they ever have concerns, they can bring them up certainly at a school committee meeting and say, look, based on our work as a subcommittee, here's what we don't see happening, or here's what we do see happening. Here are concerns that we have. That really hasn't happened yet. And it hasn't happened primarily because I think two reasons. One, I think there's a general satisfaction on the subcommittee's part about the information that they're getting. And two, if you watch our school committee meetings, you will see, and Dee, I know you're a regular viewer, you will see that every month we generally have a presentation from students, and from one school or another. It's been the elementary schools to start off the year, but the high school will also present at different times, as will the middle school. And generally speaking, those presentations have to do with each school's individual efforts in terms of inclusion and equity and how they're bringing their school together and how they're developing a school climate. So if you watched our school committee meetings, I think we've gotten through all of the elementary schools so far this term, and there may be one left, I'm not sure. And we'll hear from the high school, we'll hear from the middle school, and then there'll be a sort of a continuing rotation. So I recommend watching our school committee meetings to get more information on what we're doing. I also recommend going to the school website and looking at start with the strategic plan. We have a 5-year strategic plan that ran from 2018 to 2023. We're in the process about to start the planning for the next 5-year plan. There are 3 goals in that plan. The number 1 strategic initiative in the strategic plan has to do with student safety, essentially, but safety in the broadest sense of not just physical safety, but emotional safety. Safe and supportive learning environments, so it's not just safety, it's also the support. The very first item in the plan is to plan for and implement the 5 social and emotional learning competencies. And I believe we were ahead of a lot of schools in terms of that. Lisa Dana began that work, I believe, back in 2020, actually. So I think we were, at the front edge in terms of bringing in a consultant and working on that. So you'll see that that's the number 1 strategic objective in our strategic plan. You will also, I recommend looking at the school improvement plans, which are also available on the website. And you'll see that the first goal for each school, whether it's elementary, high school, middle school, the first goal is to foster student safety and support. It follows the strategic plan, except you would see that different schools have different tools that they're using or different programs that they'll use in a given year, perhaps, to try and get where they want to go. And those are the programs that they generally will report to us on at school committee. The website also has information on the 2 anti-bullying programs that we use. There's a lot of valuable information there. And finally, to the extent that this committee is interested in what's being done and wants to get into more detailed information, then I would suggest that you have a educational subcommittee of your committee. And I talked with the superintendent this week, the assistant superintendent. They tell me they work with Jasmine regularly, and they also say that they would be happy to have a meeting with any subcommittee or this committee generally. And you ask questions, talk about what we're trying to accomplish and what the goals are and how things are working and how we're going to measure them. So, certainly looking forward to any communication that you would like in terms of what the school district is doing to really try and foster equity. It is a slow process, and often you're in the process of trying to, get the foundation started in elementary school, carry it on through middle school and the high school. It's not easy work, given the challenges generally that parents, students, and all of us face in a world that is very much full of conflict. But it's something we're committed to, and I think that's evidenced by the strategic plan and the school improvement plans, just as an example. But again, I encourage you to, get that subcommittee active again and meet with the superintendent, meet with Mary Wormers, and they'll provide any detailed information that can be provided. So I do hope, I've answered questions about how the equity subcommittee works specifically and why it works as it does, but I'm happy to take any questions from you.
Yeah. Thank you for the update.
I have a question. I'm
Sure.
sorry, I'm trying to summarize. In what you're saying, I don't know if you defined what the subcommittee is doing or if you're redirecting us to another place for information.
Okay, I'm having just you mean in terms of exchanging
Yeah.
information with the school committee?
No, based on what you just said, I'm
Yep.
trying to surmise. Are you saying that what are you saying that the subcommittee does? Because it seems like you were more giving us information about how the school committee functions and where to get other information, but I still am unclear as to,
Well,
I think that we were seeking some clarity as to what the committee
I'll try
holistically
and
did.
clarify.
Mhm.
They meet with the superintendent and assistant superintendent and anyone else who's relevant to the whatever they're going to discuss that day. They meet monthly. They talk about and discuss with the superintendent what the superintendent and the district, the administration, what they are planning to implement in terms of programs, curriculum, et cetera. They can give feedback, certainly. The feedback would not include telling the superintendent, now do it this way, but they certainly can exchange feedback. And they could, if it was necessary, they could bring a formal report back to us. But at this point, I think we all feel that the administration is doing a very good job of presenting us that information on a regular basis. Now, that's really the subcommittee's job. It's not even really an oversight committee per se. It's an information sharing committee, much like this committee is to the school committee or the selectmen. It's not oversight, it's partnering, and it's exchanging information. And that's really what happens. I think because the administration has been, and even during the interim superintendency, the administration has been very clearly working on the equity piece for the district. They've had public presentations, multiple, particularly on the elementary curriculum, where the most questions from parents seem to be coming from. And 2 meetings ago, superintendent, assistant superintendent, and elementary curriculum team were here to talk about that and presented to you folks and could answer any questions that you had. But the subcommittee, it's an informational role to let us know what's happening. And at this point, I think as a committee, we're content with what's happening. Now, what the subcommittee is not going to get into is, we had a complaint at the middle school about Johnny bullying Billy. That is not something that the school committee can ever get into for reasons of student privacy, parental privacy. We can talk as a school committee or as a subcommittee about general issues involving the culture and what we're trying to do to change it. But we can't get into very specific cases. It's like with special education. If a parent calls a school committee member to talk about their child's IEP, we can listen, we can try to refer them to the right people to talk to, but we can't get involved in an individual case. So what I've always tried to do is, and I would imagine other members the same, you try and sense if there are patterns out there. If you are getting the same concerns from different parent groups, different parents, and you get a sense that, okay, this is something I need to talk to the superintendent about and ask him to take a deeper dive into. But as I say, our role is somewhat limited. It's informational. I will tell you that I've had very good feedback from the community about Dan Bauer's work as the new superintendent. I've had good feedback. Just yesterday, I ran into someone working at the middle school, one of the teachers I know, and he couldn't say enough good words about the new principal there as well as the new superintendent and what they're trying to accomplish in terms of moving things forward, transparency, dealing with problems as they come up. Again, as the school committee oversees the superintendent's performance, we get to ask questions about that. We get to take information about it. But again, we don't execute. We oversee at best.
Definitely. Thank you for the clarification, Eric. I think it's enlightening, and I think we're going to go to the next one shortly. So basically, I think you answered the question, because the reason why the question came up was because, you're right, I watch school committees often, and very often I didn't know there was a monthly meeting, because at the school committee, when the equity subcommittee is asked to report, the answer is always there's nothing to report. And that was why we were wondering, what do they do? How do they do it? And I know we don't expect school committee members to become administrators. We are, and we work very closely with Dan Bauer and the administration in different aspects, and really value the work that they do. We just thought that the school committee, having that leadership support of the work that they're doing is important. And part of that support is to express it during the meeting and say, look, yeah, they're presenting on this, but as a school subcommittee charged with equity, we stand behind them, and this is how we're doing it. Not that we expect the school committee to do the work that the administration is doing. And the other reason why it would probably be a good idea to have something to report as a subcommittee, it also raises a level of accountability. Because when that report comes out, it's stated publicly for all of us to know what that subcommittee is doing. So that it doesn't just stay as an informal discussion between the subcommittee. I mean, if that's how it's done, that's fine, but I feel like it'd be a good idea to express that so that it also gives that level of accountability to everyone involved as to what the subcommittee does, so that it doesn't become an informal discussion between the subcommittee and the administration. But at no point, I don't think any of us I don't think anyone expected the school committee to become like the administration. We're just hoping that the administration gets all the support that they need from everyone, including the school committee, as they navigate these terrains.
Sure. Well, I would say I think that they feel that support from us. However, I will take your suggestion and concerns back to the committee and, suggest that the equity committee, spend a little more time in our meetings talking about what they're doing. So I will take that suggestion back.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Can I
Mr.
just
Chairman.
make one comment as well? I hope that it's clear that by asking about the subcommittee, it's not accusing the school committee of not caring about equity, not doing anything. Of course, we had the administrators here in September. That was lovely. And it's okay for us to ask for more information about a subcommittee that we're not clear on.
Sure.
So I don't want our questioning to be taken as we don't believe the administration is doing an amazing job working on these initiatives, because I personally think, there is a lot of progress happening. So
I certainly didn't take anyone's questions that way, and no, perfectly understand why this committee would be interested, at least in some degree, to know what the committee's doing. So no problem on my end at all. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you. David is not here. Pastor Boy, any updates?
So I wasn't with you last month because of being on vacation, and so the Danvers Interfaith Partnership did meet last month, as well as we're scheduled to meet this month to go over some details for faith formation issues that are going on in the community. But this month's meeting has been put on hold because people were not able to participate because of the busyness of the season. So we're looking at meeting again next month. In this season, looking at the whole scope of Thanksgiving and Advent, and and also other expressions of faith within this whole season, we were just looking at a lot of different expressions and being present to everyone. The invitation in November, as well as in this season, to a lot of the different faith expressions within the community. We're looking at trying to be robust in our invitation for the Interfaith Partnership, and it goes out to all of the churches within our community. And we don't always get a whole lot of participation from a whole lot of different faith groups. There's a core group of people that participate in the Interfaith Partnership for Danvers, and so we have them come somewhat regularly, but not all participants come from all different expressions. We also have different stakeholders that come. Chief Lovell comes from time to time. Jasmine comes and participates in our meeting, and they also contribute as to what the needs are within the community. Our next meeting will be in January, and hopefully we'll have other stakeholders participate. Part of our topics, obviously, in this point in time within our world is to look at our global needs as to what's going on, as well as how that expression happens within our community. Recently, with the help of Jasmine's organization, we did have an interfaith discussion that happened within the last few weeks, which was really helpful. We never did a debrief after that. My first impression of that was it was a great conversation, but I believe the beauty of that whole conversation was the listening that happened within that conversation. It's great to have conversation, but be able to have that pause within it to hear and listen to one another. I think that was beautiful. And moving forward, I think that that continues to be key in how we share with one another where all of us are and what's happening in that global sort of way, but also what's happening in our own hearts and our lives. So that's just kind of an overview of what's happening, I think, in the interfaith partnership within the community. And we're always open to hearing where people are at. And they can always reach out to both Pastor Pam and myself at Maple Street Church, as well as other clergy within the town. Thank you.
Thank you
If there's
very
any
much.
questions or comments?
Any questions, comments? No? Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Vaughn. Lieutenant Rob?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to start with a thank you to the committee. From my shift, we were able to participate in the town's menorah lighting event that just happened to fall on our work night. But more importantly for them was the fact that they got to light the menorah themselves. I can't tell you how excited they were to have that invitation extended to them. They knew they were doing the like public safety one for the town's event, but for them to go as a little group and flip the switch, they were actually debating who was going to get to do it. So they wanted to say thank you for allowing them that opportunity, and they look forward to doing it again next year. You really did. You made their day. I also want to pass on, it's on our Facebook page, the Police Department's Toy Drive. So this year, the Community Services Division, which is led by Sergeant Colella and School Resource Officers Skane and Smith, they were able to raise $1,575. That was a combination of, we do a no-shave December, where officers donate money and then we don't have to shave, and we have like a beard-growing competition. That money goes to that fund, as well as monies that were donated by residents and local businesses. All in all, they were able to help 18 Danvers families, 44 individual children. We were provided with a list of families from the schools, as well as a list of what those kids might want. And it was very interesting because some of them were toys, but then also some of them were clothes, personal hygiene type things. So the officers got to spend a couple of days roaming around Target shopping. And they would actually just pick people who happened to be there shopping that day to come help them. We have a gift card for $100. Could you come help pick out gifts for this little girl or this little boy? So they really enjoy doing it. Additionally, each family received a $50 gift card to Market Basket to help with food for the rest of the month. They were able to raise so much money and gather so many toys. After that event was done, like I said, we had been provided the 18 families and the specific needs of those 44 kids. They had enough left over that they were able to reach out, and 20 more families were able to come in and just roam around our training room and look for items that they might want to take home for the holidays for their kids. Additionally, we were able to bring 6 large bags full of toys to the senior center so that seniors might have toys to give away at the holidays to their family members. And then we sent 3 large bags of toys to Centerboard so that they could use it. They've set up a playroom for kids, as well as they have a room where if they're working with families on paperwork and legal advice and something to have the kids do something while mom or dad are busy, taking care of the family's needs, the kids could play with some of those toys. So they focused on things that, puzzles and games and building blocks that might keep the kids occupied for a few hours. But they had a great time doing that. If anyone feels like it, check out our pictures on Facebook. The trucks that we have, or the trailer, and the room is just full of toys, and we're actually still tripping over some of them that are left lying around. I wanted to pass on that this morning I attended training put on by the Massachusetts Attorney General's Office and the Municipal Police Training Committee. It was an overview of current First Amendment civil rights issues. It just turned out to be very interesting timing. I'm sure everyone has seen in the national media the very interesting, complex, and legally difficult intersection of protected speech and activities and criminal speech and activities. They are tough issues to navigate for schools, for police departments, for cities and towns. So it's great to have this opportunity to learn a little more about that from an assistant attorney general and then a gentleman that was police chief at numerous college campuses throughout the country. So that is building upon, they'll be doing some more continuing education with these at their next Civil Rights Symposium, which will be February 2024. It just also happens that a few weeks ago I printed for tonight's meeting, if people aren't aware that the Attorneys General in Massachusetts and New Hampshire have filed civil complaints against the Nationalist Social Club. That is the group that was here in Danvers on a couple of occasions. They were the group that was on the bridge over 114 in Danvers and the bridge in Saugus. And they were also responsible for a couple of occasions where their propaganda was thrown out windows and, of cars driving through town and ended up in people's lawns. So the Massachusetts AG's office has taken out civil complaints against 2 members and the group itself. The New Hampshire AG has taken out a complaint against the group and 19 of its members. And they are alleging that this group and its members engaged in an escalating series of unlawful and discriminatory incidents. Both complaints, the mass one is 26 pages long. It's very, I've read both. They're very interesting. It really goes with kind of what we were talking about in the class this morning. If you look at some of their banner displays over the highways and some of their propaganda, that is in the complaints about just a background of what type of group this is and what type of activities they're doing. And then it moves into what the actual illegal, the non-prohibited activities would be. And they specifically, both complaints used a number of incidents where this group tried to stop the drag queen story hours, as well as protesting at different hotels that were hosting migrant families for emergency shelters. And they described, the Mass AG's office described their, the behaviors that allowed them to take out these complaints as the actions of these groups. The members were engaged in violent, threatening, and intimidating conduct that violated state civil rights laws, and they unlawfully interfered with public safety. So it'll be an interesting case to watch how it unfolds. They can bring very large fines against these individuals as well as the group as a whole, and hopefully it goes a long way to, if not completely shutting them down, stopping their future activities. It's also useful for us that to read these. We can see how important it is to go to these events, and even if it's an event where we can't take a criminal action against somebody, to make sure it's investigated, it's documented thoroughly, it's sent through, we take our information and we send them to other state agencies so that they could be used as part of a larger case. And it's kind of how each part of the banner displays and the propaganda, that builds, and then they fold it into the case in chief. So hopefully it might be a quick end to this group in the region.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Any questions, comments?
What was the name of the group again?
I always get it wrong. It is the Nationalist Social Club.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Yes, Paul?
The Attorney General's action.
Speak into your
is that
mic,
online?
Paul, please.
The Attorney General's action, is that online? Is that available online?
They are both available online, yes.
Do you have any information on how I might?
For the Mass one, if you mass.gov,
Okay,
If you
thank you.
go to the AG's office has a site there. They have both their press release, which gives you a 2 or 3 page summary, and then the actual complaint that was filed in Suffolk Superior Court. You can also print out the complaint and the supporting. They've got clips from videos, security videos, police body camera type things that were part of those complaints, so you can read the actual charging document.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now move on to the next item of the agenda, DEI report out. Yashmin?
Sure. So last week we wrapped up our final living room conversation in the series, and as a group, that third conversation centered around what's called the cycle of liberation, which is by Bobby Hatto, and it was an opportunity to think about for those who have already done some exploration, particularly around white identity and anti-racist work, what next steps could be and what they could look like, and how to just continue forward with that path. And it was interesting to see that our third and final one was probably the biggest turnout, and there were lots of faces that I didn't know prior to going in, and that's always fun for me anyway. And I had an opportunity to debrief with Lauren from Heathmere after that, and to just really think about, based on that conversation, what else our community might need and where the work might lie in the next steps. And I'm happy to report that she had initially, we thought that she had applied for 3 living room conversations in her grant. She actually applied to 8. So I'm really excited to continue that partnership with the Heathmere Center for Cultural Engagement next year. And again, we're already kind of thinking about what some of those conversations could be, and potentially even using some of those conversations to support the Accessibility Commission as well. I know Jorge, Dave, and Karen were all there, right? I don't know if any of you want to comment on your experience or...
I thought it was very interesting. The conversations, there were a couple of comments that struck a chord with me. And I'm the kind of person who won't just say anything right there. I went home and I chewed on it, and the next day on the way to work, it really hit me. And if those comments come up again, I think I will have something to say about them. But they were very interesting.
And that's part of what the training is about, right? It's to equip us to reflect on these things and be able to be aware and be like, okay, when we are in these situations, how do we react? What do we do? How do we work together? So,
Did Karen or Dave do it?
I was just going to comment a little bit. You talked about, it was really nice to see folks who you had no idea how they'd got in there, right? And they were new faces, because in my time on this committee and attending events, you start to see some of the same faces. So it was wonderful that they were there, and I think just going forward, it's something for us to reflect on about how we promote, how we get the word out, and then when new faces and friends are in the room, how we connect with them in that space, to then that not be a one and done for them.
Absolutely. Dave.
Yeah, I thought it was a very interesting program. As Karen said, a lot of new faces. One young woman was sitting next to me who I think may apply to be on this committee possibly. She sounded very interested. But new perspectives, new ways of looking at things, and a few OEM moments, I think, in the whole thing too. So, yeah, I think unfortunately I couldn't make the first 2. I get too many meetings going on these days. I got lucky I was free that night. So I'm glad I was able to make it, and I'll try to make more of them if you do have more. It was very good. I recommend others try to attend too. It was very, very interesting discussions.
Thank you. And again, I think between the partnership with Heathmere and being able to promote this through our library, those 2 relationships and partnerships that we have seem to be what's also bringing some folks in, even some who aren't from Danvers. And so, again, looking forward to that for next year. I also, this past Tuesday, was really lucky to be invited to one of the Next Gen meetings. If this committee recalls, last year, That was when Isaiah came in, Isaiah Young, with the students to speak about this group that started. They came together to create a video game, I believe, to teach more about racial equity in particular. They since evolved, and these ambitious young people were like, we want to do a whole course. And so this was the new cohort of them, a diversity of really grades, interests, and cultural backgrounds was beautiful to see. And even though they are only 3 meetings in, even the discussion that we had as a group, it was great. Our future's in good hands. There's a lot that they're just getting quickly, and they're asking the right questions about systems and just ways, like things that we've been doing, or ways that we've been doing things that maybe we need to update a bit or think about differently. So that was similarly exciting. I invited them to join our January meeting, and I'm hoping they do. What they're planning on doing is having 4 town halls during the month of February that are featuring different topics related to race. And so they want to lead these opportunities in partnership with us. So stay tuned for more about that, and I'm really looking forward to supporting them in that endeavor. And similarly, the leaders of the group, so more of the upperclassmen, are actually headed to, I believe, Alabama with Janelle Ridley over MLK weekend to do more facilitation and training as well. So I'll talk more about that in the MLK update. But again, great group of young people, excited for that partnership. The last piece, I just wanted to provide like a brief update, just to make sure that we're informed as a committee when it comes to our emergency assistance program families. I've been really trying to keep an eye on if there are any narratives or misinformation going around in our community, and I think the most important things I would want this group to know, especially if you are encountering or if this is coming up in conversation, as it stands, there are roughly about 400 people through this program in our community across 2 locations. And I can't stress enough that they are from a variety of different backgrounds. So it's not really accurate to refer to them as immigrants, let alone refugees, unless they're seeking refuge from, like, I don't even know, Woburn or something. There are English-speaking families, so I really want to make sure we're disrupting, if we are in those situations, any narratives that perpetuate a lot of myths and stereotypes about immigrants, especially Black and brown ones, coming into predominantly white communities. So I just wanted to name that. Center Board has been an incredible partner in this work, really facilitating that immediate support. And I think that is probably why there haven't been like larger like conversations bubbling up, knock on wood, through their ability to support us and manage the immediate needs for most of these families.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments?
A question.
Yes, David.
I think maybe a month ago, you told us a term we should use when referring to those, that was it transitional families?
No, I would say to call them emergency assistance families is the
Okay,
most
okay.
accurate.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right, thank you.
I have a question. So are you saying
Can we
that
slide her a mic?
you don't, that
Can we
perfect
slide you a
is-
microphone?
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, sorry.
This is so when you watch it back for the notes, you can hear
Exactly, I
yourself.
want to hear myself, of course. So you're saying that you don't want to use the term refugees or immigrants, but is that to say that there aren't any refugees or immigrants in this group, or you just don't want to label those?
So it's a mix, and I think that when we use particularly those 2 words that already have negative connotations, again, in predominantly white communities, it can be harmful. Again, there are English-speaking families there. Some of them are displaced even locally from like Dorchester, Woburn, and so on. So if you want to be the most accurate when speaking about the group in its entirety, it's a collection of those experiences, which is why EA families is the most accurate.
Okay, all right, thanks.
I was displaced from Woburn,
There you
a
go.
long time ago.
Yes, Lieutenant.
I would just like to point out that I use the refugee and immigrant phrasing, if that's the AG's language. So I was referencing their press releases and their criminal complaints and used that specific language. So
For that group?
that's why it came from it, yes.
Okay, good to know.
Questions, comments? Perfect. Thank you very much. I don't think we have anything for the.
Oh,
do you have anything?
so I did get a, Shilpa was unable to provide a more thorough report out because she unfortunately couldn't make it last minute, but I did have an opportunity to read the notes from the Massachusetts Human Rights Commission meeting, which again is the monthly meetings that are a collection of human rights groups across our state. And I just wanted to offer up so we're aware of what they're talking about in their committee or commission. They did kind of do a think tank around which communities provided statements about particularly the current Israel-Palestine conflict and like what some of those statements are, where they're coming from. And then they also spent a lot of the time hearing about a group called, there's a group, White People Challenging Racism in Melrose, or I guess it's an organization or a collection of people who work for a project called Reparations for Melrose. Reparations for Melrose does research to document current and historical harms, builds a foundation for reparations initiatives, and educates others around the Commonwealth on how they can do the same in their communities. So they did discuss some of the topics under there being housing, disproportionate discipline for students in schools, and similarly policing. Those are some of the conversations that are being had at that level.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments? Here none? Okay. Next one is menorah lighting debrief. I think most of us were there. Any comments? And I thought it was great. So, yes, Donna?
No, I just think everybody was enjoying themselves, and I thought the fire department participation this year was wonderful. I thought that was a big hit. It's always a draw, regardless of what.
Jorge, and I think Jorge was the one who made it the first night. Is that right? It was.
I thought it was fun. When I walked up, I parked behind Brothers, and when I walked up, I saw the emergency vehicle lights and stuff. I was a little apprehensive about what the heck was going on, but then I saw. So it was cool.
Awesome. I mean, I think it was a great event. Moving it to downtown was the good decision. I mean, as much as I like it by the water, I do think that having it at downtown was really good. I also think it was the biggest crowd we've had. Kudos to the police for really making sure the streets were safe for us. Kudos to the fire department for the DELT dropped. I learned something new this year. I thought that was for kids, but it ended up being like, I saw even Kristen there trying to get those candy. And DPW, I mean, they had some very last minute requests for things, ladder and everything, tables, and they came through and provided those for us. So we're very grateful for that. And the Rabbi Mendel. Yes, Mendel Barber, who also brought some menorah for people who wanted them and didn't have them at home. So it was a great event. Then we'll do it again.
Yeah, and thank you to Karen for the photos and the capturing Lieutenant Sullivan's officers speaking and lighting the candle. That was very cool. And make sure, if you all haven't seen the segment on DCAT, Dutrichet did a recap that includes some of that footage that I should have sent a link to in our reminder email, but it was also a really nice coverage of that event.
Yes, yes. And speaking of the officer who lit, I mean, he had a good time.
He did.
Was really
You can
happy.
tell.
Yes. I wasn't prepared for his request. He asked, so I had printed out the blessing in English. He wanted it in Hebrew. Didn't have it on me, but we got it on my phone, so he was able to do it. He was more familiar with it from growing up in Hebrew.
That's where ChatGPT comes handy. Perfect. MLK update. Paul.
Well, we met with the school administration on, I believe it was December 4th. with Mary Wormers. We had Karen, Dee, Bill, myself there, and Jasmine. So we're moving along. We don't see any problems at this stage. And everything we've previously talked about is taking place. Okay, my particular aspect at this point was to try to organize what we ended up calling the tabling through community partners, which is a carryover from other previous events that took place. And I can report back that we sent out 14 letters to community partners. We've heard from 3 so far. We just sent them out later last week, or the beginning of this week, actually. Police are going to take part, and let's see, the Department of Children and Families are going to take part. We had one group that has a conflict, so they couldn't make it, but they were very enthusiastic about coming next year. And I'm sure we'll hear from others one way or the other. Our deadline is January 6th, as far as when they can report back to us. However, we have other things that we have brought up, and we're expanding with the program. As you know, it's going to be from 3 to 6. And so it'll be 2-hour social air time before we start the official program. And I'd like the other members to report on what they do and what some of the questions they have, because I get caught up in what I'm doing. And Karen's got a vast agenda. I think we're going to have 5 speakers. Is that right, Karen?
5, possibly 6.
Possibly,
yes.
yeah. Oh,
so 4 confirmed.
Okay, 4 are confirmed. So would you just speak on what you've been doing? And
Yep.
And I appreciate all the work Karen has done. For a new member, she's chair of the next subcommittee.
We'll see, Paul. Paul introduced me to brothers, and I'd lived here 5.5 years, and I had my haunts, but now I've got brothers, so it's very exciting. So instead of having a keynote speaker this year, we are inviting 5 to 6 Danvers residents to speak for 2 minutes. Could be less, but max of 2 minutes. To really share how they are moving like Martin Luther King through Danvers, and also what is their vision for Danvers moving forward. So they will be interspersed throughout the different musical selections from the students. So that's one aspect. And then during the initial 2 hours, in addition with the Treasured Student Art exhibit, which draws a lot of parents out and families out, in addition to that, we're also going to have opportunities for the community to be artfully involved in thinking about how they want to move like King going forward. So we're going to be partnering with the high school with an art teacher to create a banner. And I meant to bring my tape measure to measure down here because you had that great idea. So maybe there's one in the space. But that will be one interactive piece. Another will be a kind of a large board, like moving board, whiteboard on wheels, where folks can write up their vision for Danvers going forward. And then there'll be a kind of a children's area where they will be creating a dreamscape of their community and kind of what is their dream for Danvers. And I had a great conversation with Karen Kilty from Maple Street, who was also involved with some of the programming for the EA families. And she had some fabulous ideas. I'm extremely excited for how that's going to grow. So I think those are some of the pieces that we've been talking about additionally. Yeah.
I have a tape measure. I'll measure this for you before.
Thank you, Dave. I knew if I meant,
Ask your grave digger.
there you
Always
go.
has a tape measure.
Bill, anything you want to add?
The Lions.
You want to just speak to the mic?
The Lions Peace Poster Contest, Danvers student won our district and has gone on to state, and we don't know yet whether she wins state or not. So her poster will, if she doesn't win state, her poster will be up for everybody to see.
Awesome. Well, we want her to win state, so hopefully we don't see it.
We
Yes,
will
Paul.
we had a brief subcommittee meeting right after the meeting with the public schools. It just always cleaning up wording and things that we want to do and clarifying what our responsibilities are. And I believe, we haven't talked about this, I haven't talked to Dee about it yet, but most likely we may need another meeting, just the subcommittee, after the first of the year. And if we don't, we won't go to Brothers, so that'll be it. But we're looking, like I said, if anybody has something that we're missed, or they think we've missed, please get to us right away. If we can correct it, we will, if it's possible. You know, some things you just can only go so far, all right? And
Question?
Rob's group, the police, are gonna bring a display to the event, a table. In other words, they're attending. And all they need is a electrical outlet, I guess, and they'll handle it. So that's it. We should be able to take care of that. That's it for me.
Thank
Dee,
you.
I mean, you've attended everything, so.
I have. I think you summarized it very well. I'm looking forward to the event. And I don't know if Move Like King is trademark or if you are say Karen. You came up with that, right? Yeah, I love it. I mean, just entitling the event MLK, Move Like King, and having people talk about how they move like King throughout the year in Danvers and their vision for Danvers. I think that's a really good way to sum it up. So thank you for that.
Karen, I would trademark that.
I know,
Check
right?
it out. Believe me.
All right, bring me a lawyer.
We'll make sure everything's covered so that you.
No, just listen, during the event, we also, food will be served during the first 2 hours. It's free, open to the public. January 15, 3 to 6 at Danvers High School.
Sorry to keep going on, but everything you say jogs my memory. We had a discussion amongst the subcommittee about whether we were going to charge for the tabling or not. We had some very, very good points made pro and con. What we decided to do was not charge, so it's free of charge for any of the community partners to come in, obviously, but we did suggest that if they would like to make a donation to our scholarship fund, they can do that.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. And then we'll also be having an award at the event, I think.
What do you want, the bio or the description?
Sure, you have it?
You want both?
Just the description.
Okay.
And maybe some of the bio if it's not too long. We can save it
So
for that day.
one thing I
It's
wanted
okay.
to bookmark was that we're also trying to see if the next gen students, some that won't be on that trip, can come and be one of the tabling groups as well to talk a little bit more about the game that they're putting together. And again, it's their concept is really cool. It's like simulation. They give you a situation and you have to choose what you would do. They'll explain it better, but we want to have them there too. And then I did receive I'm looking for it. We talked about our award this year is the inaugural Seed of Hope Award that we're planning to issue. And sorry, I can't talk and search for things out here. Okay. So this year we're giving out our first ever Seed of Hope Award, and it's given to a person or group who amplifies the life and legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. by sowing seeds of hope for a more just and equitable community. The recipient of this award is recognized by the community as someone who fosters love and inspiration through service to the community. So that is our description for the award. Are you unveiling it? Do you want to do the...
No, go ahead.
Okay, so this year we are excited to announce our award recipient is Agnes Misiga, who is the Director of Housing for Center Board, for all of her work in supporting us with these the emergency assistance families that have come in, and just being an incredible collaborator with our schools and with us to not only ensure that their immediate needs are met of these families, but also to work with us so that we can support bringing them the more social emotional side of things as well, and showing them just how welcoming Danvers can be.
Thank you.
Misigah.
Misiga. Any questions, comments about Yes.
I was just going to add in terms of promoting, promotion for the event, there are a number of things that are in process, but we will be having flyers that we're hoping can go up in some shop windows, restaurant windows, that type of thing. So if any of the committee is, would be willing to get a few of those and put them up, and you have some dedicated spaces, you could let Jasmine or myself know. And then also, while the town has sort of an Instagram account in particular, I'm sort of thinking of Instagram, but I'm sure there's also Facebook. If you are particularly on social media and would be willing to kind of post about this, we could give you those assets, those visuals to do that within the information and just be tagging the town. So it's going out on town social media, but I think as much as we can also be putting it on our own social media platforms, I think that's helpful as well.
It should also be on the, we have the Danvers inclusion, I'm not sure exactly what the name of that other Facebook group is.
Nope, so that's actually, I guess, is defunct the right word? So all of the
Oh.
promotions for HRIC, because it is a town committee, should be done through the town's social media. But that information is also, this event information is also up on the website, on the main calendar, and on the HRIC calendars. So if you're subscribed to those, or the Equity and Inclusion page, you'll get the notifications to remind you of that event as well.
Thanks.
But feel free to post it to any group you belong to. You can share it on your personal page or any group you belong to. Yes, Mr.
If you get the electronic flyers to me, I can pass them around to other clergy members throughout the community. And I can print off hard copies and put them up in some store windows throughout downtown.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Could that be sent to everybody?
She's asking, can you send the,
Oh, I guess that means.
yeah,
I mean,
she's gonna do
Yeah,
that.
yes.
Thank you. Sorry, I should.
Any other questions, comments? Then we're on track for a good MLK event. I think this is the last meeting before
It is.
MLK, so there's any questions, concerns, please. This is either now or never.
Never say never.
And the school is continuing to be a great partner with this event. I mean, they're really down in the trenches and working with us to making it a success. So, perfect. I'll now move on to the next item of the agenda, which is Black History Month update. Johan, you got the floor.
Yes. So, with regards to our Black History Month celebration, it's going to be a celebration of Black excellence, which is going to take place on February the 10th at the Senior Center from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. We have been meeting as a committee weekly. Obviously, we've adjourned for the holidays. We're not going to take the holidays away from people, but we have talked about securing food, and we have some feelers out for that with regards to vendors that we can use for that. Everyone's wearing different hats in terms of working on our flyers so that we can get the information out to people. We have secured a dance instructor for the middle of the event so that people have a little something to get them out of their seats and that sort of thing. And we've also secured a balloon vendor from Kristen so that we do have some pretty beautiful decor that we can kind of make the event look great with. We hope to convene again back after the holidays to kind of wrap things up and secure everything. But it's been pretty good. I will say that everyone comes with a lot of energy and ideas, and what's nice about it is that we do have some people from adjacent towns that don't necessarily have something like this going on, and they're pitching in to help us as well. And we love that energy. We want to be a place in the North Shore where people can come and enjoy all of these events, and not specifically, we want to welcome our Danvers residents too, but we're open to anyone else who wants to attend. So anyone who is listening, February 10th, it's family friendly, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. The kids can still get into bed on time. And also, I will add that we will be at the select board meeting on January the 16th in order to obtain approval for the wine. And so Dee has filled out all the permitting and et cetera for that, and so we will be there to request that as well. Any questions or anything that I missed, Dee?
No, I think, I mean, she's been doing an amazing job. I mean, she's taking, I mean, the planning that's going behind this, I mean, Johan took it and it's really taking it to another level. Really,
Don't forget about the food.
yes, it's gonna be great food.
A lot of talk about food.
People come for the food.
And she's even planning of having like educational material on different table about some prominent people in history, especially in the North Shore or the state of Massachusetts. So that's part of what she's planning for the program. It's going to be kids friendly, and yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a really, really good event.
I do have a question, because I know I sent it to you like close to when the meeting started because I wasn't able to attend, but what are the promotion plans for this event? Because when we get back, it's less than a month, and I wasn't sure about who's doing the flyers and that stuff that I'll need to get out on town social.
Yeah, thank you. So we have, Kinan is gonna work on an Eventbrite for us. And then the hope is that that Eventbrite information will then be individually distributed on whatever sites we all frequent so that we can kind of get the word out that way. But additionally, if you're recommending like a town flyer, we would be open to that as well with the same information, kind of like in order to post it in the same places that all the other HRIC events are posted. So if that's the town site or wherever that typically goes, we'd be open to that as well.
Okay, sorry, I'm making faces because I'm now thinking, because we've never used Eventbrite, I want to double check with our town communications person, what they might,
That
like if
it's
they need
okay.
to get eyes, not, well, if they need to get eyes on that
Yeah.
before it goes public.
Absolutely. Yeah, let me know.
So now I'm like, oh,
The
I
idea
should have
was
thought of that
to
sooner.
have RSVP recommended but not require, just so that we have an idea as to how much food we're gonna get, so everything doesn't go to waste. And I mean, Eventbrite came up as something that's either free or inexpensive to use for RSVP, but if the town has something else already set up to RSVP, it'd be great.
It would be great to have like a flyer that can just be circulated on social media. So, Jasmine, would it be helpful for us to put something together to share, or does Jen usually do you do that? Like, how would
Usually I end up
Okay.
doing it.
maybe we can take
With,
a stab
and then
at
have
it.
her
Yeah.
like review it.
Yeah.
But yeah, seeing that, I know that you're all coming up with like really dope color schemes and
Yeah,
stuff like
it'll
that.
look really pretty.
Just let me know, and especially if if anyone is using like Canva or something, then you can always share designs.
Yeah.
Any questions, comments? Okay, I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Last item on the agenda, new business. Yes, David?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know how many of you are on Facebook, but Danvers has a new group on Facebook now called the Danvers Public Square. It's basically a forum where you can bitch about anything you want to, and there's no rules. You're free to slander anybody, ridicule them. And someone came up with a comment, they were talking about the cigar store down the square and complaining about the problems they had with town hall. And mentioned a problem they had with some lady, and someone posted, well, if it was that lady in the wheelchair that couldn't get by our car seats and milk crates, tell her to go walk on the other side of the street. So this is kind of a taste of the flavor of this group. I responded to that one. I said, maybe we should all spend a day in a wheelchair and see how we'd like to be told to go to the other side of the street. Got no response. No, I got a couple of being laughed at for it, but just want to let you know what's out there. If they get enough decent people responding back to them. If you want to complain about the way town hall does things or taxes or whatever, that's great, fine. But be respectful, and if they don't seem to feel they need to be, and the moderator doesn't feel the need to moderate the group. So it's kind of a free-for-all. So just give you a heads up, might want to check it out.
Or not.
Or not. Don't do it on a full stomach. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I've seen that show for 10 seconds and hit the button and change the channel. It was,
On Facebook?
no, is this on Facebook or DCAT?
No, this is Facebook.
Oh, no, no,
No.
no, no, that, I never saw that, no.
Well, it's called Danvers Public Square.
Okay. Nope.
It's Saturday Night Live and Monty Python rolled into one.
That would make it entertaining.
Yeah, well, it's entertaining, yeah. They have a strong stomach to listen to it.
Yeah, and the danger with these online groups is the fact that, I mean, sometimes you can be anywhere and participate. Right? You don't have to be in Danvers.
Mhm.
A lot of
And-
people
but
don't use their
then
name on this group.
It
It's
just
awful.
becomes fertile ground for some very toxic stuff. Yeah, thanks for the information.
Yeah.
Any other new business? Do you know? Okay, so I'll need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Make a motion?
You have a new business?
No, I made the motion.
Oh, no, I need someone else to make the motion.
Second.
No, he's our liaison, so I actually need a committee member to make a motion.
Oh.
So moved.
I need a motion first before we move
A
it.
motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay,
Second.
second, okay. Motion has been said. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Good night,
I just want to
Danvers.
wish everyone a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, a peaceful solstice, and if there's another holiday you celebrate that I didn't think of, enjoy it. Kwanzaa?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's probably a lot more that I'm not even aware of.
Thank you.
Hope everyone has a pleasant season.
Erase it.